Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Ali, co-founder of Note. Our goal with this series is to share perspectives on the changing digital landscape of our industry. We have another amazing guest with us today. I'm thrilled to welcome Hartmut Kunz, CFO of OQEMA Group, one of the top chemical distributors in Europe. With a growing catalog of over 15,000 products, OQEMA prides itself on being an expert in the technical and regulatory support of its customers and providing support along the entire value chain, ranging from product development, individual mixing, logistics, recycling, and so on. Hartmut, thanks so much for taking the time. Before we jump into today's conversation, anything else you want to highlight about yourself or OQEMA?
Not yet. Hi, Ali.
It's great to see you. Well, I'll share a little bit more about your background. So I know you started at Ernst & Young, and then you went to Roland Berger before joining OQEMA, and Peter Overlack, and we did a little bit of our research here. So Peter Overlack, OQEMA's former CEO, regarded you as an internationally experienced manager with proven expertise in helping develop companies. So tell me a little bit more about your career and what happened in consulting, and then what caused you to move over to an operating role.
Yeah, so I started my career at Ernst & Young, as you said, as a financial analyst, and then I moved into the restructuring part, and from EY restructuring I moved to Roland Berger, just as this was the restructuring company in Germany. And yeah, over one assignment I met Peter Overlack, and this is how I got in the industry. It was not only Peter, it was Peter and my wife who got me in the industry. Honestly, before, there was a long time that I didn't even know that chemical distribution exists. So it was not that I turned 5 and everybody dreamed of joining a fire brigade or becoming a cop, and I said, oh, I want to shape the world of chemical distribution. But yeah, when I had this assignment with OQEMA, I learned that the company has a very, very special culture that attracted me a lot. So it was in 2016 that I was with OQEMA. And then 2019, Peter called me and asked if I want to join OQEMA and become the CFO of OQEMA Group. And my wife then reminded me that I said at this time, oh, if this company will ask me one day to join them, I should do it because that's a special company. And what is so special about OQEMA is it's not only a family business in terms of that it's owned by a family, it's also a family business because it has a culture that is very embracing, and it just feels good to be part of the OQEMA team. And we have this one value, it's called we dare to be different. And that is true for OQEMA. We are often off the beaten track. This is how we see it. And we do things in a different way. And that has quite a dynamic and also innovative cultural element. And that was what attracted me. Yeah, and I think why Peter asked me is because I was a specialist in structuring companies and bringing companies from one stage to the other. And this is where we are with OQEMA. We are in a transformation. And now the telephone is ringing. In a transformation, and this is why I'm helping.
That's great. So I assumed that maybe you were consulting for OQEMA, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
So this is how I worked on an assignment. I was on a strategic project with OQEMA where we worked on the future map of OQEMA. Throughout this assignment, I learned to know OQEMA. Yeah? And in the end, this is still what we are doing. The basement of what we are doing today was lies on this project we made in 2016. So
yeah, got it. Well, look, I know that OQEMA has experienced a lot of growth over the past 10 or so years. There's a lot of distributors in the market that have gone after a pretty aggressive acquisition strategy. And I would imagine there's a lot of opportunities and challenges when you're that aggressive in the market. Can you share from your perspective, some of the opportunities and challenges that you've seen?
Yeah, the company has a growth path of top line growth of 12% year on year over the last 13, 14 years. And this is the longest I can look backwards. And of course, that comes along with a lot of problems, let's call it that way, challenges. So if you grow like this, you have to decide for one way. So what Peter Overlack did is he decided for a minimal PMI approach. So that means he just bought the company, left it as it is, in the best case, left the management in place, and then just bought the next company. That helped for speeding up growth. It was a perfect strategy for speeding up growth. But what happens if you do this? You got a marder of speedboats. You have a lot of speedboats that are gathering around one mothership, and that means at one point you get too many speedboats. As I said to Peter Overlack said, "Oh, I have this amount of speedboats, and I like it." I said, "Okay, but the problem is if the mothership and the speedboats are not going into the same directions, and some of them are going into every direction, and of course you have everything what you have in every country. You create kingdoms, you create silos, and information doesn't flow." And if we are talking about digitization, this is a huge problem. Yeah, you have islands of information. You have a multiple of systems. When I started, we had 23 ERP systems. So you can imagine that is not a perfect world. And of course, digitization means centralization at some point. So what happened was you stay local and you don't act global. Yeah, not at all. You might give it a little bit of a shape of a global company, but it's still a local company. So those were the days before the new management joined. And we changed the strategy. We said, okay, what we want to do, we want to become one family. We want to have one backbone that is highly standardized, but the front end should be local. That sounds like what everybody wants to have. It's a little bit of a dream and a wish, but it's not what is unachievable. It's difficult, and of course, as more as you standardize, you lose some flexibility. That's part of it. But till now, it works that we separate a little bit the market-facing part and the, let's say, my desk, all the back office, which is now getting more and more highly standardized to enable digitization. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the process that you're going through, I think, is a pretty common one. And before you add too many speedboats, you've got to kind of wrap your arms around it and start to drive at least a little bit of consistency across the org without losing, the speed and the culture and, all the other things that make all those individual parts so exciting and the reason you acquired them to begin with. Speaking of digital, so there's certainly a lot more activity now, especially in distribution, than there was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And we're hearing all sorts of use case across the market, from folks wanting to build customer portals and supplier portals and e-commerce platforms and any sort of, all sorts of customer facing initiatives. But the one that we hear consistently as sort of the starting point is that system of harmonization. And, as you mentioned, lots of ERPs and being able to get some consistent sort of data layer in place and consistent sort of back office processes in place seems to be a pretty consistent initiatives across the industry. And it sounds like that's what your guys are going through as well.
Yeah. I think this is the homework the whole industry has to do. It's part of the professionalization. It's part of getting from a very decentral or to a more centralized industry. Yeah, the big players are all maximum 10 years old, and when Peter Overlack started, this industry was totally mom and pop shops everywhere in Europe, and now we have these global players who are growing and growing. So of course, that is the main challenge. But I call it this is the homework you have to do. The playground is somewhere else. And data is, who am I telling this? But data is, of course, a huge topic. Yeah. So we are investing a lot in data teams. We are investing in central data lakes, analytics teams for working on this. I would say the whole ERP consolidation we are just doing to get proper data out of this company. Because now it's all data sets that don't speak to each other. So they are not machine readable at the moment in the way it is. Maybe in the future times when AI can interpret the differences between the data sets, but that's far off.
Yeah, that's right.
And we are all doing this in the end, of course, to increase speed, security, and quality in the service we bring, get a better reach, and get closer to our customers. We want to get deeper into the supply chain of our customers.
You said in an interview, and it's a really good line, and I'm going to quote you. You said, "My dream is to offer our products and services across borders and thus drive the integration of the company forward. For this, we need fast processes, good systems, and agile management. Data and technology are an enormous driver for a digital future." That's a great line. That's a great line. Tell us more what you were intending to say there.
Yeah, so if you're in this industry, it's difficult to explain to the people why I'm doing this and why I'm driving all this and why the majority of our investment is not only going into bricks. Yeah, before it was sales guys and warehouses. This is where you put your money. And now there's a new pillar, and that is a costly pillar, to be honest, and that is digitization. Because I said, if you're an intermediate in a market, of course, you are dealing with information. And we are an intermediate. We have suppliers on the one side, we have clients on the other side. We have to please both sides, yeah, because we need something from both sides. If you're in the automotive industry, your supplier is the one you squeeze, your client is the one whom you please. For us, it's different. So we sell, in the end, it's not information broking, but what we do is we have information about the clients, and this is our proposal to the suppliers that we grow their business, we grow their product. And of course, we can only grow it if we can show that we know the market. And how do we do it? If we show that we have information about the market, that we have an advantage or let's call it a strategic advantage in terms of information towards the supplier. And that is why I'm 100% sure that information, and so data, is getting very, very crucial. It is even today, but today it sits all in the head of some salespeople, where we can put it into systems and it's going to be optimized. It happened in other industries, why it shouldn't happen in our industry.
It's a matter of time. And this industry sits on a ton of data, and they don't realize how much data they actually have from, product data, customer data, supplier data, transactional data. I mean, there's so many different layers to this data that frankly just isn't being used effectively. And it's just the companies that figure this out first, we're convinced are the ones that are going to hit like the next stages of growth.
I fully agree. It is how it is. So this is why I say, at the moment, I don't want to become the biggest, but I want to be the most dynamic. And I'm 100% sure that we can only achieve this goal by being better in terms of digitization. And of course, we are not the biggest one, so we don't have the biggest investment packages. We are well equipped with cash, but still, there are other ones. So we have to be smart and clever in how we do it.
This next question I ask of everyone, and I'm particularly excited to hear your answer because I don't know that I've talked to a CFO. You're unlike most CFOs. Let me be clear on that first, but I'm curious to get the CFO hat perspective on this.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot more headwinds in the market now than there was, 3 years ago. Everyone, was over the moon. Things have changed. And I'm sure there's lots of folks bringing different initiatives and requests to you and asking for more budget on this and that. How do you balance, these short-term challenges that we're seeing in the market with, the need to invest in long-term initiatives?
First of all, oh yes, there is headwind. I agree. And nobody knows how long, and that is more the problem, how long this will take. But if we are talking about strategic topics, we decided some years ago that this is the right path. I say we should stick to it. Yeah. And of course it hurts now, but we are still investing.
Yeah.
At some point I say, do you really need this FTE, or do you really need this? Is it a frill, or is it needed on our path? So we decide day by day on things. Is it needed for the goal, getting a digital backbone that helps us, or is it something that we can solve in the future?
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I can't imagine the number of requests that pass by, your desk all the time, and you do have to prioritize, certainly, but
especially after 3 party years. To be honest, these were for the whole industry good years, and now the mindset is still, hey, there's money for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's tied to a strategic initiative, like you said, you gotta still believe in it and still, forge your path forward.
And that is something I did restructuring for 13 years. So it is something, if it's the right path, you should put the money there. That's it.
Okay. Lastly, any words of encouragement or messages that you want to relay to the OQEMA employees, maybe especially those that are working on these data and digital initiatives?
Generally, first of all, thank you, because everybody is hardworking. And yeah, I should say in some years, everybody would know why we are doing this. No, but I would say, I know it's a challenging time for all of you, but I see there is the right spirit, the right drive that making us the most dynamic chemical distributor in Europe. So keep your chin up and just keep going like this, because you're doing great. This is this is what I would say to my employees.
I love it. I love that spirit. Well, I don't know what it's like to report into you, but I would imagine it'd be a good time.
So and so.
Look, Hartmut, thank you for your insights. Folks love listening to these informal conversations from folks like you that help shape this industry. I believe in the path that you guys are on. I love your message of being that dynamic distribution company. Thank you for everything that you do to move this industry forward.
Thank you, Ali, for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's great seeing you. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Yeah.